My name is Heather, and I'm a local industrial designer, entrepreneur, maker, fabricator, and I'm the founder of Re4m Design and Fabrication, and we're located in Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada. So Re4m Design and Fabrication is an eco-friendly fabricator, and we design and build furnishings, fixtures, and displays using recycled and reclaimed materials from around our community. So these materials would otherwise be thrown out, say scrap from construction sites, old displays from retailers, just materials that otherwise would have been discarded. So we take those materials, deconstruct them, and turn them into new items that essentially would go back into other businesses. I've always been a maker since I can remember. I love making board games or designing my own products, making my own furniture. And I've just always been that kid who would make tree forts and do everything hands-on. So I knew right from the get-go that I one day wanted to build and create with my hands. Like I wanted to have that creative form of creative expression in a way to have an outlet for how I just wanted to build stuff. What inspired me to start Re4m was that I was actually working for a retailer at the time, a store as a graphic designer. And this company wanted me to design and produce posters, signage, and graphic elements for their shop. So one day when I was designing some material for them, I noticed that they were throwing out this display unit. So the display unit was in great condition. It wasn't damaged. It didn't even have any scuffs on it. The only thing about it was that it was last season's display and it was a little bit outdated. So I just asked them, why are you throwing this display out? Let's try and divert it. And basically their answer was just, no, it's going to take too much time to divert it. And we don't have that capacity. Like we don't have any time. So I basically was like, no, I don't want to see it go to the landfill. So I actually brought it home to my small apartment and I just started deconstructing it, playing with it and seeing what I can create out of that light fixture. And I came up with just very basic, really cool, like cinema style marquee light fixtures where you can put in your own letters, you can say your own saying. So I made 8 of these light fixtures in total and I sold all of them, which I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like I just did this. So I could say these light fixtures were kind of like a catalyst to Re4m. And that was kind of when I realized this is possible. I can create stuff and people like it. So let's just see how it goes. So after I sold those light fixtures, I got a profit. And then I was thinking, okay, I need a bigger workshop space because I was actually building out of my living room. So there was no space at all. And once I was like, okay, I need a bigger space. And then I went and purchased a shipping container and turned that shipping container into my workshop. And in Canada, it gets really cold in the wintertime, and I underestimated how cold it would get in that shipping container. But I made do for about a year until I really realized, okay, this space is way too small. So I was actually able to sell the shipping container for a profit and use that profit as a deposit for a new space. So my new space was going to be a garage, and it did end up working out, but not very long. I was probably in that garage for about a year as well. It was still pretty small, and it was an old car garage, so it had like a vehicle lift in the middle, so it really took up a lot of space. And and then I guess I just realized at one point, I was like, okay, either I stop what I'm doing and I don't do Re4m anymore, or I continue it and I take a risk. I take another risk and get a even bigger space. And so I did. And that's actually where we are today. We're in my bigger size workshop, and we have an office upstairs and a paint booth, and we have access to storage. And yeah, it's been such a game changer. Really, Re4m, I can see a lot of potential going forward, and I'm so excited to see what's going to happen in the future. When I was doing research into how much waste was being thrown out in the landfills, I was so blown away, like in a negative way, because I realized how much actually goes there. I was working for one shop who threw out a display, and there's thousands and hundreds all across Canada, and they're all doing the same thing. They're all taking their outdated or last season displays and throwing them out. And not only is it retailers, it's also construction companies, it's museums, schools, all sorts of businesses that are taking their otherwise discarded materials and, tossing them. So I just kind of realized, like, wow, this is a big problem here, and I want to do something about it. So when I was doing my research, I just found, a couple alarming stats. Like, according to recent articles posted in local newspapers, industrial and commercial waste makes up 60 to 70% of the 860,000 tons of waste generated annually in Ottawa. Currently, less than 20% of Ottawa's industrial and commercial waste gets recycled. I found that statistic really discouraging. It's like, wow, that much really? It goes to the landfill? Like, what can I do about it? So I started talking to construction companies. I started talking to museums, schools, and more retailers and more businesses. And I was asking them, okay, what are you throwing out? And is there a way to divert that responsibly? So typically they would answer, oh yeah, but we don't have the time to go through everything and everything like that. So I noticed that was one of the biggest pain points, was the fact that businesses just simply don't have time to go through their materials and to see, okay, what's good to keep and what's not. So that's when I was thinking, okay, I'll offer that. I'll offer to go to their business and go through it and see, what's manageable and what we can do there. So then I got in with a local museum. I was so excited. And the museum was saying, okay, you can come in and take these displays. Like these are otherwise going to be tossed. So just go through them and take them and whatnot. So I did. And they give such cool materials away from from the old exhibits, like plastics, metals, woods, all sorts of things that can easily be deconstructed and manipulated. So basically, after I got the museum, I was able to get more companies. Like, more companies were like, oh, okay, well, if you work with them, sure, I'll work with you. So I ended up working with 5 construction companies. Every time they had a job, they would call me and say, hey, Heather, we're tossing out some flooring, or we're tossing out some cabinets, and what can you do? So I would start going to these sites and reclaiming materials. And then basically, as soon as I knew it, Re4m had started really diverting a lot of stuff. Like, I think we've done 8,000 pounds of waste that we've diverted and recycled since 2017. So it's been a really big accomplishment, and seeing those businesses' mindsets shift. And you almost see like a gear switching. They're like, oh, yeah, someone can use this, and I don't need to throw it in the bin, because it costs them money as well to divert or to throw out materials. So it was kind of a bonus on all parts of it. And basically, I've just been making more and more connections and trying to find more businesses that are interested in alleviating some of their waste. Re4m is part of the circular economy business model in terms of resource recovery. So we really hone in on taking materials that are coming from businesses, construction sites, museums, and we help them responsibly divert these materials and get them back into circulation. So it would start off as, let's say, an exhibit that is basically being torn down and discarded. So we would take that exhibit and deconstruct it, recycle components, and then we would bring that exhibit back as something else, as a product, as a display, as something for another business. So you can see how it would go right back into the product life cycle. And that's where Re4m plays a really big role in terms of sustainability, because instead of obviously having this end up decaying for thousands and thousands of years, we are sharing it, repurposing it, and really helping out the environment in that way. To me, sharing resources and repairing things, fixing things, I think that makes so much sense to me. And that is something that I'm really happy to be a part of that community, a part of the circular economy community, because just the aspect of prolonging something's life is just so meaningful. And it's fulfilling too when you start, working with materials, and instead of seeing it go somewhere, the landfill, you're like, okay, I did this, like I made this with my hands and I turned it into something that's going to be having another life cycle. So that part about Re4m makes it so worth it. It's so fun to see something tangible come from something that was in the dump. My favorite part about Re4m's process is working with the materials. It's so fun because we do it a little bit differently, where clients are like, okay, I would like a desk. So we go into our material room and check out our materials and say, okay, this person wants a desk. So we can we design the desk with this metal tin plus these stair railings. And we just look around and see what we have to build that product for that client. And that's got to be my favorite part. The problem solving aspect of Re4m is so fun. So basically, yeah, like when we're able to come up with something like that for clients and tell them a story about their product, they're just like, oh wow, like that came from here, like what a cool talking point. Like they really enjoy that element of it where they're a part of something, they're a part of this material's story. And that process is really fun. And of course, once we build it, physically build it in our shop and deliver it to our clients, their expression, just wow, they see what it has become, because we show the clients the materials before we turn it into something. And then once they see the after, they're mind blown. They're like, wow, that became that? That's so cool. So that part of Re4m is really fun. It's gotta be my favorite process. I want to share a project with you that we did about a year ago in 2020. And I am so proud of this project because it's one of the few that we can say 100% of this was materials that would have gone to the landfill. And it's so especially important to us because the scale of the project is bigger than what we typically work on. So we ended up doing a faux facade for a local shopping center. And the facade was designed to represent Santa's workshop. And inside the space, behind the facade, was a pandemic-safe space where families and kids could get their photos taken with Santa. So this project was so cool because everything, the bricks, the windows, the columns, the paint, everything was sourced sustainably. And I'd say most of it was straight from, the garbage. And the paint and hardware and stuff like that, we were able to partner up with Habitat for Humanity Restore, which is a business here in Ottawa and also around Canada that diverts construction waste. So it's a store that you go to and purchase building materials that are donated from people who it's leftover, it's extra materials. So these go to the store. And we did end up buying a lot of our finishings from that store, including like the trim and the molding. And it was so neat to see it come together and how it's all materials, that were garbage, and seeing people's reaction on the display, because there's a sign out front and they're just thinking, wow, this whole thing was made from scrap. That's so cool. So, and now it's a talking feature inside the shopping center. When people are walking by the facade, they go, oh, wow, like that was that. And then they're saying, now they're thinking, maybe I can start using materials that I have lying around my house and just kind of convert them into something to use. So I love that part of it, how something that doesn't seem so impactful, it's just a facade and whatnot, it ends up being so much more impactful than you think, because we're helping the environment and we are encouraging communication and conversation between individuals, and they get inspired, and it's just so neat to see how a project like this could start making people talk and think about waste differently. Re4m has come a long way since the beginning. I can remember walking to businesses' doors, like going up to the businesses, knocking on their door and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm taking waste and turning it into things. And I remember them just giving me a look like, okay, that's weird. So it's just come so far because now I have a way of talking about it that people understand a bit more. And they're like, okay, cool, that's a really cool initiative. And I remember approaching my first construction company being like, hey, I'll take your scrap materials. And the construction company would be like, I don't know about that. There's liability, there's this, what if you get hurt? Like, we'll get in trouble. So it's been a lot of finessing, like working with people so that they understand our end goal. And I just know sometimes I sit back and I'm like, wow, Re4m has come a long way from where I was, because I used to be working in my apartment living room, and now there is a 2,000 square foot workshop and storage space. And it's really neat to see that progress that Re4m has made in the past 5 years. And I really do see the future of Re4m growing. Like I see the idea catching on even more, and people wanting to work with Re4m more and be a part of that story. And I just find that the more that action is being taken, the more people kind of catch on, the more people want to be a part of it. And I can see Re4m really developing and working with more and more businesses in our community to divert waste. Say we're working with a flooring company and we will divert their laminate sheets or their carpet and turn it into a specific product. And I can see us working with, let's just say, theaters and repurposing their old theater sets and helping them out that way. I think the more people are educated on repurposing and reusing, I think that's going to be really fun. It's going to be really great when Re4m gets into that area. And yeah, just it's so neat working with others who are kind of on the same mindset as well. So once we become this bigger community and all work together, I think that's going to be really cool. I really encourage others to explore materials and just kind of, if they see something maybe that's being discarded or on the side of the road, maybe check it out. Be like, what can I do with that? And can I be creative and disassemble it and turn it into something new? Or maybe someone else can use it. Maybe someone I know can use this for something in their home or for their friends. And I just really hope that the conversation can be more frequent around maybe repurposing these items. And I encourage you as well, like maybe you're walking around and you see someone repurposing something, give them a shout out, say, hey, nice job, like that's really cool, and I want to be a part of that too. And yeah, but thank you so much for listening to my story and how I started Re4m and where Re4m is. And I hope that maybe it has inspired you a little bit, but either way, thanks for having me, and thanks so much for listening.